Hello, hello. We are live for our Wise Woman interview. And the beautiful Sarah Zulewski is here today with me. And I'm so grateful because we crossed paths in an ice rink. Nope, we crossed paths in an ice rink. Our boys are on the same hockey team together this year for, I think, the first time ever in all
Yeah.
of our hockey experiences years and years and years. And what's so special about Sarah would be her, how do I want to put that? How she shows up. She has this air about her that when I saw her in the rink, her dad would say, "Who's that?" Because I walked right up to her and I was like, "Are you on our team?" Because we didn't know who the families were. And I
Hmm.
was hoping that she was because she had a warmth about her, she had a smile, and I love being around confident, kind, warm women. And so we got to know each other. And then, even better than the mom side, and we share the love of hockey and, as she calls it, the boys' aquarium, which I think is hilarious. I also learned that she has an incredible business. She has created something out of literally nothing. Like, it's not like she's following someone's business plan. It's not like the tea business is in her family business that she just took over. She's literally created this from scratch. And I love that because my whole mission is to be able to impact, inspire women where you are right now and people in general, that you have a gift and you're able to step into a place of creation and into that beautiful space of imagination. And when you see someone else do it, so inspiring and can give you the motivation to step into that space. And that's what Sarah has done. And we, like, literally before we hit record, she was sharing a couple of things. I was like, no, save it. I want you to share that part of your story because that's the part that's meant for all of us to recognize that we have so many more tools, gifts, and I even like to call it Gifty's Genius. There's a book out there. It's your 10,000 hours, the areas in which you've worked that can be a benefit to where you are now and serve other people. So I love her heart, her imagination, her creativity, and it has been such a joy and way more than hanging at the glass to watch a hockey game. We get to talk about business, we get to talk about opportunities, expansion, and the things behind the scenes as women in business that, the situations that we come to when not everybody is excited about the fire that we have created, that they might try to, put our fire out. And so that is the real truth of business, and that it isn't all it's up in great days. And when you find that support system behind the scenes, it can be so rewarding. And so I'm so excited for you to meet Miss Sarah. So, Sarah, would you share a little bit more about you, like the before, where you are now and where you're going, so that we can get an understanding of how you created this beautiful display behind you?
Oh, yes, there's some of my teas. Well, I guess before, I mean, since you commented on them, I do have about 40 blends that I have researched and crafted. Most of them were created because somebody somewhere asked me a question. And I actually have a small business in, I think she's near East Lansing, making me a shirt that says something that I feel like I literally said multiple times last weekend that, hey, you've got a problem, there's a tea for that. And so she's making me a shirt that says there's a tea for that. And I'm like, I'm so excited for this shirt. Um, but so there's a tea for anything. There's herbal remedies. It goes back in time with history. Before there were doctors, there were healers. And the way that they healed people, because you didn't have a pill back in the day, was to go out and go foraging and find the things that you knew to be true and helpful and healing. And I mean, everything has a property, whether it's positive or a negative property. And so, um, they would make and craft these, remedies and teas or tinctures or salves or whatever. And that was how they healed people back then. But I feel like I was drawn to bringing that into the now when there's so many people that do question certain things. And I mean, I love that you can go to the doctor if you don't feel good. But at the same time, I feel like if your body can heal itself and you can avoid having to do some of those things, if maybe you don't quite need an antibiotic, but maybe you can drink a tea, then awesome. So that's kind of where I'm at. But the cool thing is that like it all started because, well, actually, before I even started, I have always kind of been a bit of a fixer or a helper. I went to school to teach, and I've been told that, once a teacher or once a student, always a student. And I feel like as a student who wanted to teach, there's always ways to try and teach people, whether it's now through herbs, like if I'm at an event, if I'm at a market, um, or discussing history because I love history. I'm like the biggest dork. It's my favorite thing in most of the world. Um, but I like to learn new things. And I can't remember how many years ago it was. But I remember my husband, he owns a real estate company, and he was, struggling to figure out how to get his business out there, how to have people who didn't know about him to be seen on the internet or whatever, how to pick up those phone calls that you wouldn't normally receive. Like, how do you reach more people? And I was like, huh, like, you don't have any marketing. And he was just like, I don't have time for that. I said, well, I'll help. And so, like, I literally went online and Googled, like, how to figure out marketing. Like, this was before Chat GPT. So, like, I didn't have a little buddy in my phone that said, hey, how do I do this? Nope. I Googled how to do marketing. And it gave me like 5 examples of what to do. And I was like, I'll try and do this for you. So like I took my camera, I went took pictures of some of his places, I tinkered around on different apps, I figured out things that worked, I made slideshows, I, made flyers, I did all of these things. And then one day I'd done so many of them and I was like, this isn't what I want to do. Like I'm helping you, but I don't want to do this. And I was like, and I think that's when like the teacher part of me was like, but the people in your office should. The people who are related to and involved in this, they should be the ones to do that. Maybe not you, but the people that work for you, they should know how to do this. So I did a few like lunch workshops with them and taught them how to do what I was doing. And actually, the brilliant thing is now that they've improved upon it so much because they've figured out what works for them. But in the meantime, when nobody knew what they were really doing there either, I taught them what I had figured out. And now they've grown and now they have awesome marketing. And I'm like, I'm so proud of you. Like, good job, everyone. But where I had no marketing skills whatsoever, I tucked that information away so that when I decided to build this, I was like, I already have these skills now because I taught myself. So that was kind of where like that piece of background information started. And then I kept that with me until one day a friend of mine said, I think you have a business. Stop giving your tea away for free. And I was just like, no, I don't think so. And she's like, no, you do. Stop giving your tea away for free. I love it. I appreciate the gift, but I think you have something to give other people too. And I was just like, oh. And it took a lot more like coaxing and myself talking myself in circles. And then people asking me questions like, hey, can you make a tea for this? And eventually over time. I always said, sure, probably. Let me do some research. And so like I have so many books. Like, yeah, Google is a wonderful thing and the internet is fantastic, but I'm a book person. Um, I have my teas back here, but I am in a room, literally three of the walls in this four-walled room are full of books. And usually when I talk to somebody, I mean, especially Maggie, because she commented that I do this actually almost every time we talk. But I'm like, oh, hold on, let me show you this book. And then like I go and I grab a book. Like there's a book for everything. And I collect them. They're like my nerd trophies, and I love them. And there's so much knowledge in a book. And like whether it's on, essential oils, whether it's on herbs, whether it's on, foraging for plants, there's books for everything. And I love that when you can't find the information, because sometimes the internet is biased, especially like people write Wikipedia. Like you can just go on there and change. Like I could say that this plant is blue when it's like brown. And people wouldn't know because they'd be like, oh, I Googled it. So I love books. Um, and so I've done research. And so every single tea that I have created has been very extensively researched and then tried out on myself because I am my favorite guinea pig, except for one tea, because I have no business drinking it at all. Um, I have one blend called the Fertility Goddess. And I created it because I had a couple of friends who had been struggling with infertility and had gone through IVF multiple times, and they were just super like disheartened and frustrated. And I'm like, hey, I am not a doctor. I will tell people this all the time. I am not a doctor, but I've studied the herbs. And based on how these herbs are supposed to work together, obviously everybody's bodies are different, but there's no promise, there's no guarantee that this will cure, your infertility. But I also don't need to figure that out for I can't be my own guinea pig there. I've got my own kids. They are all I've my oldest son is in driver's training. I have no business having another small human. We are good. Sorry, I'm not trying that tea out. But otherwise, I have tried all of the other blends that I have created, and they're fantastic. They've all worked well for me. They've worked well for other people. Um, I do have a couple of other blends though in like the like during and postpartum journey that, okay, I guess I have to take that back. I didn't try those either, but I have family members and friends that tried them for me just so I could have that feedback, and they loved them. I've actually have one mom that I met at my very first market in 2022, who I met her and she was pregnant. She was getting ready to like enter like the last, I don't know, eight eight weeks of her pregnancy, and she's like, "Hey," she goes, "Do you have a tea for helping like get my body ready to give birth?" And I was just like, I will do you some research and I will get back to you. In worst case, I tell you no. Best case, let's make you a tea. And she loved it so much that then when she was pregnant a second time, a couple years later, she reached out to me again and she said, I'm having another baby. I need this tea again. And I was like, okay. So that was like a great testament that I was like, this works and I couldn't try it. Like it's just like, oh my gosh, like, and she thought of me out of nowhere 2 years later. Like I was in her brain. She's like, I need to talk to her. And that just made me so happy. Like I made a positive difference and an impact in that she thought of me. But so like pregnancy and things aside, the very first blend that I ever created was calm. I now have like evening calm and other calms, but the very first one was just straight up calm. Because you can't really say, I mean, and there's actually already a blend. I think it's in from like somewhere in Washington state. Um, I really just wanted to be like, chill the fuck out. But that's not how I wanted my teas to be portrayed because as funny as it is, that's just not it's just not what I wanted people to think of my teas. And so I just went calm, but I initially created it because I had a friend going through menopause and she was absolutely miserable and she was tired of taking medication and still stressing. And I said, "Oh, girl." And around that time, my grandma, um, she's an accomplished author. She's written, I think, 7 novels, but she was researching for a character in one of her novels. Um, this character was a British girl who was raised in India and like studied Ayurvedic medicine. And my grandma was like, I don't really know where to start with this. I don't even know what this is. And I said, "Ooh, that sounds fun for me. I'll do the research for you." And so I did. And I became obsessed with the Ayurvedic concept of how holy basil helps women's bodies. And that is what actually inspired Calm so I could help my friend. And then I realized that it wasn't just for women, though, even though it had a very positive effect on women. It's actually one of my husband's favorite teas. He sleeps through the night. I actually have 2 teas now that he is obsessed with, and he sleeps terrible. So when he drinks those, he sleeps amazing. But that until I had created this other one more recently, which is the Sleepy Time Enchantment. Actually, I think I have that somewhere. Oh yeah, I have that one up there. And that one turns blue. I've had some people lately asking me about what's the blue tea? What's the blue tea? That's the one. Um, but those are my husband's favorite teas. You don't just have to be a woman, but calm, holy basil, it chills you out. It balances your things. It gets everything relaxed. And I'm not promising your hot flashes will go away completely, but they're definitely going to lessen and you're going to love life a little bit more and you might actually sleep through the night really well. So that was my very first tea. And then it just kind of snowballed from there. I had people would be like, "Oh my gosh, like they loved how that worked." And they'd be like, "Well, is there a tea for this?" Sure, let's check it out. Let's research this. And so then that kind of stemmed down and trickled down to about 40 blends later, here I am. And people are constantly like, "Oh, I have this issue." I'm like, "There's a tea for that." Like last weekend, I was at this amazing women's wellness, like I mean, I think they called it a workshop and out in Commerce. And they were talking about, I think, and a lot of people, I don't know that they all drink tea, but they were curious. And we learned about, you know, mental health, loving ourselves in the now. Like we're never going to be our 18-year-old selves again. So you need to love yourself now, today, how you are today. Um, what certain numbers on a scale mean. How can, you know, mental health is not a stigma. We should all love ourselves and it's okay to ask questions and it's okay to have a good day or a bad day. And I think that led people to my room where they're like, "So, hey, I've been dealing with this and my doctor wants me to take a pill, or I'm worried about going to the doctor because I don't want them to tell me I need to take 3 more or something." And I'm like, "Oh, there's a tea for that." I'm like, and if there isn't, at least you tried it first. Because I'm all about um there's a time and place where you do need to go to the doctor, 1,000,000%. Um, and I mean that's happened to me. Um, and thankfully we have doctors and nurses that know all of these things that I don't know. And they can do these things that I can't do. Or that I didn't want to learn how to do because that's not my passion. It's not my wheelhouse, but I appreciate them so much when I need them. And so for these women, I was just like, hey, I'm like, maybe you want to try this one. Oh, maybe you want to try this one. I met this beautiful girl and she is dealing with lupus. And she goes, do you know about lupus? And I said, I know the gist of it. Like I've never been in contact with someone with it, but I know enough to know that like there's really bad inflammation and it's painful. And she's like, yes. And she goes, do you have teas for inflammation? I was like, yep, girlfriend, come over here with me and let me show you these three right here that I would highly recommend. And like on top of whatever it is you're doing, it's like giving yourself an extra hug. Even if you're taking a medication from a doctor that you've been taking for a while, you might need that extra warmth, that extra hug, that extra little oomph with your joints, with inflammation, maybe to give yourself a little extra collagen boost, maybe to do all, whatever without taking powders, without taking, whatever other, things that you don't totally feel comfortable with doing. You can have a cup of tea before you go to bed. Some of them are have caffeine. You could have it in the morning and then you could have the decaffeinated version before bed. Like there's so many options and amazing things with herbs that when you've combined them properly, when you have measured them out, perfectly, because there are some herbs that if you have too many, like for a bedtime blend, for example, if you have too much of one herb, it can give you nightmares. You don't want that. Nobody wants nightmares. So that's where the research comes in. That's where like exact measurements come in. That's where all of those things come in to make a difference. And there's so many ways to help people. So I just want to keep doing that. I love the research side. I love the blending. Um, I I wanted to say initially, mostly because sarcasm is how I hug, that I learned things out of boredom, but that's not true. I learned things out of a space where I was drawn to them. I was drawn, somebody would put something in front of me and be like, "Ooh, I want to do that." And that is exactly what happened with one of my really, really good friends one day said, "Hey, do you want to study homeopathy?" And I was like, "Sure. Don't know what it is, but I want to do it." And she's like, awesome, cool. Let's take this class. And I'm like, okay, boom, did that. Studied homeopathy, love it. It's one of my favorite things. Definitely in my first line of all of my things, a really good example of using it with being able to go to the doctor is um, one of my sons broke at two different times, broke both of his wrists in 1 year. He plays hockey, very aggressive. It was his first season of checking, which is terrible. But if you ever go to the boy aquarium and you see them hitting each other, it's not fun. You cringe. And then, usually you're kind of roped into the people going, yeah, do a good job, hit that kid. And then you're just like, oh, please don't hit my kid. Like that's my baby. And but even though like now they're way bigger than us, but they're still our babies. But that season, he broke both of his wrists. He broke one in April and he broke one in November. And the one in April, I didn't totally trust exactly what I was doing. I was still working on it. And I was like, I don't want my kid to be, my guinea pig, but I kind of do. And so we went through all of the paces of everything. We went to the ortho. We went and got the x-rays. We went and got casted. We did all of these things. And then it was like a week or so into it, I was like, oh, I have a book on like homeopathy for sports injuries. Let's see if there's A protocol, which is so like multiple remedies that you can take together at specific times. Um, let's see if there's a protocol for a broken wrist. And there was. So I was like, hey, I know you have a cast. Let's keep wishing this the best of luck. But instead of taking Advil, we're going to take these instead. So we did that, and it healed really, really well. Now, the next wrist he broke months later, he I forget which one it was, but he months later he broke the next one. And the minute he came off the ice, I was like, start taking these now. And we're driving to urgent care. And we got an x-ray at urgent care. And the doctor was like, yeah, you probably need a cast. I said, hey, I'm like, this is what I just kind of outlined what I had said. I think we're going to do this. And he was like, cool, sounds good. He's like, I don't know what those little white balls are, but sounds great. So it wasn't as bad as the first wrist, but it was bad enough. But the cast was so annoying that I actually went out and found it like the best brace I've ever seen. And we used a brace and we started taking the remedies right away. And every couple of weeks, we went and got another x-ray just to double check that like it was healing properly and everything was going the way that it should. And I am a firm believer of the fact that since we started those remedies a couple of weeks earlier, it healed him better. And actually, between the two wrists, it's his non-dominant one and it is his stronger wrist. So there's something to be said. And along the same times, he would drink my anti-inflammatory teas at night before bed because he wanted to make sure there was no swelling in his hand, which obviously that was a thought that I put in his head of, hey, you could do this for yourself too. You can use all of these different things together. And he's like, yeah, okay, mom, I'll do that. That is his stronger wrist. We healed it going to the doctors, using homeopathy and herbs all at the same time. And those three things working together was so beautiful. So there's a time and a place for everything, but you can also do them all together. You don't have to just say, oh, well, I'm afraid to go to the doctor. I'm just going to drink tea and wish myself the best of luck. Or I'm just going to use homeopathy and wish myself the best of luck. Because doctors are there for a reason. You should go see them if it's bad enough. Um, but if you can get away with healing it, you know, naturally, go for it. And that's why there's so many different blends of tea. That's why there's so many different things that I have. And like in my wheelhouse of, I don't know, the opportunities appear for me to learn. I'm like, oh yeah, let's do that. So yeah. And I'm open to learning more things. I just the right thing hasn't fallen in my lap yet.
Well, I would dare say all that I have learned from you has been incredible. And what's so special is that it's been because of the purpose of knowing that something you were doing that you were good at was not fulfilling you. You took another step in something that you didn't see the whole staircase, and you took let me see if your degrees in education in all the foreign languages and arts, and you took those skills of learning and being open and knowing there is a physical book somewhere to support that learning and education. And here you are with a stack of solutions and options. And what I love most, and it's so wild because in our Worthy Collective, we have a home remedies and it's so fun learning. And you're like, what is the worst thing? Like if you hear medicine online, side effects may include. And then it's like, okay, well, I might not be able to leave the house because the diarrhea and the stomach pain and all these things are so terrible. And so I'd rather do what you're doing, which is options that can also be betterment for other things. and learning the inflammation part. Like so many people don't even know that they are actually responsible and also available to edit the bloat, the inflammation,
Mhm.
all these different things, and they don't have to live like this. And what I find really fascinating, I was as you were sharing about, having a cup of tea at night, is that I was following oh my gosh, I can see her face. She wrote the books, Girls Stop Apologizing.
Oh, Rachel Hollis.
Rachel Hollis. Yes, thanks.
I
I
love
totally.
her.
And what was so interesting, and I think it was that book, she's written a couple that talked about how she would have a glass of wine at night. No judgment, no judgment
Mhm.
whatsoever, until she said she would wake up feeling worse. She didn't know if it was the berries. She didn't know if it was the sugar. She didn't know if it was the alcohol, if it was the additives, all the things that as we age, something that might have calmed us down and gave us a little bit of a chill, gave us a side effect over here that was like starting to get out of balance. And when you're a mom, especially, and or business owner, you don't have the time to feel like garbage. And
Yeah.
so I love, and that's what I was thinking about. I was like, some of these practices, what we do daily really matters. And the thing I thought about is having a cup of tea, you really settle yourself
Mhm.
because it's an action. You know what I mean? And what I've
It's like a whole ritual. You go through the process. And I love going through that with my kids. I try to rope them into like making videos with me every once in a while. And it's funny because then they're instead of, they're boys. They're like squirrels. They're all over the place. They're crazy and fun and energetic and wild. And I love that that we're raising these wildlings essentially. But in that moment, they're like, oh, I am choosing this tea. Let's make our tea. And like they have to go through and stand still and they scoop and they sit and they relax and then they smell it and then they blow on it and then they take a sip. And for those 5 to 10 minutes, the squirrel is relaxed. And it might only last for 5 to 10 minutes. And they're like, cool, that was fun. But they centered and calmed themselves in a moment where maybe they wouldn't have. And that's where I love that tea isn't just for adults. Like it's safe for kids. And I mean, I have friends who I've got a few blends for colds and I've got the sore throat and chest and the breathe deep. And so like it's for like coughs and chest and sore throats and then like also like pneumonia and bronchitis and things. And they'll brew, even if it's a smaller cup, and have their kids sip on it because they know it's safe. It's not just their cough syrup or whatever it is that they're taking from the doctor or something. They're sipping on that, and even if it's just the warmth, like they don't realize what the herbs are doing for them. So they're embracing the fact that maybe if they had a fever and they were feeling chills, they're now warm on the inside. And like that's where like, sometimes I say that tea is like a hug in a cup. Like you don't know you need it until you brewed it. And so that's why I do try to be like, hey, what tea are you gonna have tonight with me when I make tea? Sometimes they're like, none. And that's fine, that's their choice. But I'm like, all right, well, I'm gonna make this one. And they're just like, oh, okay, cool, bye. And then other times they're just like, ooh, can you make me this one? And I'm like, do you want to help me? And sometimes they say yes. And sometimes they're like, nah, just let me know when it's ready. And I'm like, okay, like that's fine too.
Well, and that's what's special is it's an invitation. It is. And
Hmm.
so many times that we can have an invitation with our kids, it is significant. And I love that you shared that they're boys because it can be that misconception of like, no, they're not going to do that. And I feel like this has been the theme of my week is that there, there's the lesson or there's the situation here, but it goes even deeper when we explain the reason why. I'm not just giving you some hot water. I'm
Right.
giving you something that's going to help with this, or this, or, the conversation of it. How are you sleeping? Because in this world today, this does more damage than we would
Hmm.
ever know because it's dopamine and all the things that come from like the stuff that
Well,
we do
yeah.
on it. And being able, like you said, having that stillness, having a calmness, knowing that there's something that can be that ritual, and you take that with us and it becomes a routine. It becomes a space and place. And for adults, my thought is that if you poured yourself a glass of wine and that's not working for you, then you can choose how you pour yourself something different that
Hmm.
can give you different results. So I have learned so much and I love it. Let me grab. I have a couple of questions that I think would be really
Okay.
helpful because you've served in such a way that you have solutions, over 40 different solutions, and some of them are on display and the way you put them together. I also want a little side note before I do questions. The gift ideas are so significant, special. You personalize them, and I love how you've created that opportunity to package it, and you have different boutiques and stores and places that someone can go to, and if they're out of state that you can drop ship. So I just love your full thought process there, and yet it is such a beautiful gift to take time, especially I'm going to be selfish and say as women, when we are wanting to give a good gift, the gift of something like yours, it's personalized, it has such care and detail that goes into it that you can literally send somebody a hug in a jar
Hmm.
and hug in a cup and then meet online. I just love it. It's so cool. So I'm trying to decide all the questions because I've gotten to know you on such a great level. And what I think would be really helpful to someone who comes upon this inner view and sees what you've created. My question would be, what's the most important lesson you've learned on your journey? Because it was accidental. It wasn't like your grandma's grandma was, you know,
You muffled some of the beginning. I missed the first part.
oh, what is the most important lesson you've learned on your journey to success, both in business and in life, that you wish more women would know or knew?
That in a world that is so fast paced and chaotic, where everybody is made to feel that you always have to strive for more and you can never just be content, because then that means you're stagnant or not working hard enough. That actually the most successful you can be, and the best way to set yourself up for success, is to set aside and schedule your own self-care time, whether it is a cup of tea, whether it is taking a bath in, my luxurious bath salts, um, or journaling, or taking a walk through nature. But the best way to stay healthy and driven and full of self-love in this crazy world is to set aside time for yourself in whatever way you choose to do it, so that you are bringing yourself and keeping yourself in balance in this wildly unbalanced society. I feel like I might have talked in circle for a minute, but I know I circled back because I got distracted for a second. And then I was like, oh, yeah, this is what I'm trying to say. So I think that makes sense. Does it?
It 100% makes sense. And
Okay.
And what I love is you shifted into responsibility, that we take responsibility for ourselves and recognizing what it is that we need and that we have a numerous amount of options. And that when you do come upon someone like yourself who has created a business from nothing, that you know that there's steps in which you can make sure that you are caring for yourself and you're not looking for someone else to do it for you. It's
But
all
I
in
mean,
that responsibility.
yeah, and like so many times, like society will tell you that, like, oh, if you stop, if you take a break, you're going to be left behind, or you're being lazy, or you're this. And that's not true. You're not worth much to people if you're exhausted mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, if you're trying to be forced to have great ideas or do all of these things. You need those quiet moments. You need that chill time. And it might not even be a quiet moment. It could be, I'm going to turn on Stevie Nicks and have a dance party in my kitchen for 10 minutes before I start making dinner. I'm going to twirl around and pretend I have a tambourine in my hand, and it's going to be amazing. That could be your self care. I'm not even saying you need to drink tea. I'd love it if you did, but it could be that moment that like sets you free to bring you back into balance. And those moments, they skyrocket the crap out of people. And I think more and more people are starting to realize that. Um, but that I mean, out of everything I learned, that is like the biggest key takeaway. Find those moments, whatever they are, whether it's dancing, whether it's twirling, whether it's a bath, whether it's tea. Keep yourself in balance. And then, like, we are our own yin and yang. We are our own balancing magnet. We are, n- you might think you need this over here to keep you balanced, but you can do it yourself. There's just all these amazing things that can help you or remind you of how to do it or take you back to, you know what? I do need to do this right now. This is going to be my moment. Everyone, I'm going to check out for 20 minutes. I'm going to go sit in the office and drink my tea and read a book. When my timer goes off, I will address all of your questions, especially for like moms with like crazy hockey players and crazy hockey schedules.
It's boundaries and it's setting up that time frame because the self-care is also something I teach a lot and it's really the self-respect.
Mm.
Self-respect for yourself to know what you need. Yeah, maybe you do want or need a massage or a facial or something like that. Yet daily, those activities where you can say, I need to pause. I need to give myself a moment.
Mhm.
And sometimes it's music and movement, and sometimes it's the opposite of stillness,
Right?
complete quiet or a rest, a true nap. Like, yeah. So I think that's great. And you've
Sometimes
already
it's
answered.
vacuuming.
Well,
I
that's,
gotta go
and
vacuum. I need to
yeah,
see the results of this right now.
exactly. Well, it's action. So it's action. And either way, it's an action to
Mhm.
stop or to do, but in understanding what's going to serve the self the best in that moment, hydration. And that's why I do enjoy the tea. And I've gotten more into understanding it is a gift because hydration is something really important and how much caffeine does the opposite to us and all the
Yeah.
things I've learned on that part and where the teas can be that blessing because they have extra benefits and your bath salts and all the array of menus that you offered. It's funny, I was going through the questions and I was like, nope, she already answered that. Yep, she already answered that. Oh, yep, she already answered that. So yes, I knew it would happen because I know that it hasn't been my accident what you've created because of what I have learned about you and how much you've traveled and experiences younger in life that now you're here looking at life so differently because of those experiences all around the world that you
Mhm.
look at where your feet are today and how you want to take each next step and learning and growing and recognizing what we do have at our fingertips is so powerful because that medical side is not going anywhere. It's always there for us as another resource and tool, that there are other options. And I love options. I love choices. I love possibilities. And being able to support another woman in business can be the most empowering gift we have. And so, when we do finish and load this interview on YouTube and within our Worthy Collective, we'll make sure that you have Sarah's information so that you can benefit from the gifts that she has and be able to watch her transition into the space where I've been in her ear to say, oh my gosh, so many people do not know what you know. And when that happens, then that means, just like you did in your husband's business of duplication, I believe you're in a place of duplication to be able to pass on these gifts, because the knowledge is power. And there's so many people that don't realize where they are right now is actual misery. And it doesn't have to be like that. There's other alternatives, there are other options, and you've done the research, you've done the time, you've taken the time, and like I'm seeing as I'm talking to you, like all these little like, oh, that connected here, and oh, that connected here, and oh, well, that's where this came from, and that's where this came from. And the fact that you stepped into tons of certifications, not only in your education, you also share with everybody your Reiki and you know homeo
Homeopathy.
homeopathy. I was going to say homeo. Yeah. Anyway, so all those, share those. What are all those?
Oh, well, homeopathy is like it's another form of like natural remedies. They're the the Cliff's Notes because it's a complex thing to kind of explain, at least for me anyways, but I've got people on my youngest son's hockey team that call them the magic balls. And they are, I wish I had some sitting here, but I don't. Let's see. Nope. But so they are little white tablets, and they're made from natural occurring things. And it's a belief that like cures like. And so, like, for example, which is a kind of an extreme example, but it's one of my favorites, um, poison oak, you know, diluted down and succussed to a certain number of times to create these remedies helps to get rid of poison ivy. So that is just mind blowing to me that you can use that. Like there's companies out there that are brilliant that are the companies that dilute these down these poisonous herbs or these toxic plants or rattlesnake venom to create a natural remedy, and they heal things. Like I've taken during the pandemic, I'd never had this issue ever in my life. It was mind-blowing and annoying. And from wearing the face masks in public, um, I think the humidity of like my breath and everything in my face, I broke out in a rash that almost kind of looked like eczema, but it wasn't. And it started here in my like in my chin, and maybe I don't know if you want to call it lazy or just like it'll go away on its own or whatever. I just let it go. And I didn't get annoyed with it until it literally went up by my nose and all the way up into my eyes and under my eyes. And I was like, finally, I was just like, okay, what do I do? And like, I had a friend who sold Rodan and Fields, and I was like, hey, can you talk to one of your dermatologist friends? Like, is this a skin thing? Like, what is going on with my face? Do I need to go to a doctor? I don't really want to go to a doctor. And then in the end, there was a remedy for it. And it's actually made with arsenic, diluted down to the thousandth something or other. And that is what made it go away. I took a remedy for it. Now, my favorite things though, like remedies are amazing and I love them because those are what I give, when they've broken wrists and things. Um, there's another protocol that I had mentioned that though it's like a grouping of them that you take at a specific time. Another one that we've used a lot is for strains and sprains and torn muscles. Um, our youngest tore his MCL last January because he forgot he was a hockey player and not a skier. And we after going to the orthopedic and everything and getting him in, a nice hinged brace and determining that it didn't actually need surgery, surprisingly, but awesome. I gave him the remedies for healing those tendons. And now, knock on wood, he is doing amazing. He actually was able to get on the ice. So he did that like January 4th. And he was back after physical therapy and everything because that is an issue with like a tendon and the ligaments and everything, like in his whole knee structure. And like for a skater, you need your knees. And so he was back on the ice and played in a tournament by February 14th. And he healed faster than they anticipated. And I give credit to the remedies. Now, but one of my favorite things, and actually I do have a book. My favorite things are cell salts. And there's so many things you can do with cell salts. Cell salts just make me happy. Um, they were they were discovered by a guy in the 1800s who decided that instead of in a world of people studying cadavers to understand the human body, he wanted to be different and he wanted to study cremated remains. He wanted to figure out what is left over when we're gone, when we're dust. And so he studied those and realized that there's like dozens upon dozens of minerals still in existence after we're gone that our bodies need, that there's so much that they're still there. And so now there's 12 and then there's like a combination of all of them and then there's actually like another one that's just like a little bit different. And but we use all 12 and but you can heal so many things. And in like the world we live in, we're not getting the minerals in our foods, in our water, in our fruits and vegetables and everything the way that we did like when I was a kid. When definitely not like when my parents were kids or my grandparents or their parents. Like there's just a certain level of every generation, it's getting more and more depleted. Even if we're using, whatever seeds or whatever, there's stuff in the water, there's stuff in the air, there's stuff in the soil. We can't help that. But if we can take cell salts, once again, we're bringing back our bodies into balance. We are balancing out our minerals and our body can heal itself. That is a beautiful thing. And I love that so much. So cell salts are my favorite. I forget who I was telling this to the other day, but we were talking about travel and I said, cell salt number 5. I was like, you take that when you go on a plane. I was like, because it helps to like balance out your water so then you're not like swollen and stuff from travel. I'm like, so when you go on spring break and you're like, man, I got to Florida and I felt like I looked great. And then I got off the plane and now I feel a little bloated because of water retention. Take cell salt number 5, dude. You'll be fine. It's awesome. And so that's like my they're just so awesome. And I'm bummed that I didn't know about them before because it just makes me wonder how much healthier and better I would be right now if I knew these before. But at the same time, I'm so grateful that this knowledge essentially landed into my lap that I can give this to my kids and see how they can shine and heal and be balanced and awesome in whatever it is they do, and heal broken wrists, heal an MCL. Obviously, with the help of, like doctors and everything, but we're working together and it's beautiful and it's natural. It's the best. It's my favorite. And then, I wanted to I decided to study Reiki because I love energy. I love um, you know, in physics, it's the easiest way to explain it. Energy cannot be created or destroyed. It just gets shifted around. So, how is it shifting around? It's not just going all on its own. I mean, it could be swirling around for all we know, but you can actually control and move it yourself too. If you are in tune enough, if you are calm and balanced enough, if you are focused enough, anyone can do it. It's awesome. I mean, I sometimes I do forget that I can do that until one of my kids gets hurt in hockey. And I'm like, "Oh, hold on." But my issue was that for so long I would forget because they're my kids, they're my precious cargo. Like nothing can happen to them, and if it does, I have to fix it. And I would take on their injury instead of like, "Oh, here, let me take this." Like, okay, nobody needs that. We're going to take that and we're going to get rid of it. I would forget to do that. And then ironically, but I mean, I asked for it, right? I would end up with their injury. And my way of thinking is, well, I'm an adult. I'd like for them to keep moving. I guess I'll figure it out. Sometimes figuring it out took a couple of years, which is annoying, but made me remind myself of, oh, hey, you got to release that. You can't take that on, even though they are your precious cargo. Like, it's got to go. So, I mean, I've done Reiki on the bench in the middle of a hockey game, and then off they go and they skate off, and everyone's like, "Wait, I thought he was hurt." Not anymore. He's fine. He's fine. Don't worry about him. And so, yeah, but it's awesome. And yeah, I mean, it helps when you have a migraine. It helps when you can just sit there and be like, "Oh yes, I need to get this. It needs to go." Um, but it's my favorite. All of the things that I have learned are my favorite things. And I love when I can share them with people. I love when people want to ask questions. I love when they're curious because for the longest time I just thought that, oh yeah, I'm full of a bunch of useless facts, and none of it is useless. Not even the bogus retention of historical things that took place in, the 1600s. It's okay. There's a time and place for knowing that. Maybe it's if I go on Jeopardy someday. I don't know, but probably
Okay,
not.
I'm gonna have you on my team if we ever play. What are all those different games? Trivia? Like
Yes.
you'd be like,
Let's go to
yeah,
trivia night.
yeah. Well, I'm just reading it up on the side. I can't see what it says, but it made me think of that. I'm like total trivia. I love it. I love it. So fun and so special that you were willing to take on that opportunity with your husband. It went benefited you. It
Mhm.
blessed your family for success, and it blessed those who were willing to come to the lunch and learn, the workshops, the training, so that they could expand. And what I love most is that you gave them the opportunity for them to create their own with that foundation of your research development, and then understanding that you did the work there, that you thought, I can do the work another place and bring me more joy. And here you are. And
Mhm.
so that is such an inspiration to understand that we're all given those gifts and talents. And there are steps and there are simple steps. And that's why you're here. And that's where you've been, maneuvering. How about this? And how about that? You've been willing
Mhm.
to take those steps. As frightening as it can be, because it's a lot of the unknown. And now here you are to share those gifts and to pass it on and to let us all know there's alternatives, there's options. And you're not looking to change people, you're looking for the people who are asking the questions, who are looking for the change, the possibilities. And that connection is so exciting. And so I love to know you now so that I can say, yeah, I remember. I remember when that, like, so I am so thankful for your time and thank you for reaching out because I know I was like looking back thinking, I reached out to you and at first, and then you reached out to me asking me a few things and it's grown from there. And so I am grateful to know you and to see what you have created and knowing your heart and the mission that you're here to give solutions and options to others so that they can feel greater and better. Because when they feel greater and better, they can do better themselves.
Yes, absolutely.
So beautiful. Thank you, my love.
Thank you.